Hello everyone, it's Gold Gear. If you have been following my channel for some time, then you know that Ratchet and Clank is my favorite video game series. And in 2015, I was very excited when I found out that there was going to be a movie based on the original game. So the movie came out in 2016, and it flopped badly at the box office, and almost everyone hated it. Yeah, the introduction of Ratchet and Clank to a wider audience failed. But is this movie really that bad, or were people just too harsh on it? Let's find out. As I said, the movie is based on the original game that was developed by Insomniac Games and released in 2002. The plot of the game follows a selfish mechanic named Ratchet, who meets a naive defective robot Clank, and together they save the galaxy from an evil businessman and become best friends along the way. The story is simple, but it was really well written, with great characters and humor. You would probably expect the movie to have a similar story and the same character arcs that were in the game, right? Well, I have to disappoint you, because the plot of the movie is totally different from the game, and most of the characters were completely changed. Don't get me wrong, I love it when people try something new, but it should be at least as good as the material it's based on, which this movie is unfortunately not.
But if you have heart, then you have what it takes. You don't have what it takes.
The story begins with the Blark destroying some planet using their space station called the Deplanetizer. The Blark are frog-like creatures whose home planet is so polluted that they are unable to live on it, and Chairman Drake, a wealthy businessman, has decided to create a new home planet using pieces of other planets in the galaxy. After that, we are introduced to the main character, Ratchet. He lives on a desert planet in a garage with his adoptive father. Any resemblance to Star Wars is purely coincidental. So, Ratchet dreams of becoming a member of the Galactic Rangers, a team of heroes saving the galaxy. He wants to be a ranger because... well, I guess because he wants to help people? Right from the start of the movie, we can see that this Ratchet is nothing like Ratchet from the original game. In the game, he was a real jerk, who always thought of his own benefit, but during the journey, he changed and became a better person. In the movie, however, Ratchet is kind and sweet from the start, and has no character development at all. I think the movie could have been better if he at least had some selfish reasons for becoming a ranger. For example, Ratchet could have been an egoist who wanted to become a ranger to become rich and famous, but after befriending Clank, he would change and become a true hero. Yes, it would be simple, but better than nothing.
Up and down. Yeah, there you go.
So Ratchet tries to become a ranger, but is rejected by Captain Quark, the leader of the group of heroes. Quark is a narcissist who portrays himself as the greatest hero of all time, and often takes credit for things he never did. Despite being egocentric, he is very funny and likable in games, but in this movie, they managed to make him downright annoying. He also gets more screen time than he deserves, and is the only character with any development, which is funny because this movie is called Ratchet and Clank, not Captain Quark. You are probably expecting me to talk about the other Rangers on Quark's team, but there really isn't much to say about them. One is smart, one is dumb, and one is, just there. Anyway, while Ratchet is sad and stuff, Chairman Drake is building an army of robots to kill the Galactic Rangers. Drake is also really different from his old version, but I honestly like him in this movie. Unlike Drake from the original game, he seems to really care about his race, and is trying to right the wrongs of his father, who polluted their home planet. Drake is actually a pretty interesting antagonist, but he is not the main one. The main villain in this movie is Dr. Nefarious, who was hired by Drake to build an army of robots. Nefarious wasn't in the original game at all, so I understand that some people were angry about him being added here, but I like him so much that it didn't bother me. In the factory, a defective robot Clank is born, and the Blarg try to destroy him, but he manages to escape and land on the planet where Ratchet lives. Of course, Ratchet finds him, and learns about Drek's plan to attack the Rangers, and then decides to warn them. He steals a ship from one of the clients and flies to another planet. Yeah, maybe Ratchet isn't as sinless as I thought if he steals other people's ships, but unfortunately the movie doesn't pay attention to it, and Ratchet never faces any consequences. Arriving in the city where the headquarters of the Galactic Rangers are located, our heroes learn that the invasion has already begun. You would probably expect to see an epic battle where the Rangers use different cool weapons that were in the games, right? Well, although the movie is based on a third-person shooter video game series, where guns and combat are one of the main components, it has almost no action scenes, and the characters hardly use any weapons, and even when they do, it feels forced. So, Ratchet and Clank easily defeat the army of robots with a magnet, and save everyone, after which they are accepted into the Ranger team. Ratchet becomes popular and everyone likes him, which annoys Quark, who was used to always being the center of attention. Quark begins to hate Ratchet so much that he even joins the bad guys later in the movie. After joining the Rangers, Ratchet and Clank find out what Drek is planning and try to stop him, but they fail, and Ratchet leaves the team thinking it was his fault. But Clank convinces him to return, and eventually the heroes defeat the villain, and Captain Quark realizes that he did not behave well. Then our heroes try to escape the deplanetizer, and Clank gets a great idea on how to do it. And we hear this.
What are you doing? Improvising.
This looks like an attempt to show character development, to show that Clank is no longer the dumb robot he was at the beginning, and that he can improvise. But the problem is that Clank never had any problems with improvisation throughout the entire movie. On the contrary, he was the one who came up with the creative idea to defeat the robot army, so this scene makes no sense. Anyway, the galaxy is saved and Ratchet and Clank walk off into the sunset. Great. The story itself isn't really terrible in this film, but the characters kind of are. Some of them are pretty good. For example, I liked all the villains, but the main characters are really boring and have basically no development. The only one who changed somehow during the movie was Quark, but then again, this movie is not called Captain Quark, but Ratchet and Clank, who barely spoke to each other and had no conflict. I find it terribly funny that the original video game has more interesting and entertaining characters and more compelling story than this movie, where the story and characters are the main thing. You know what else is funny? That the games even look better than this movie. The Ratchet and Clank franchise is known for its unique and colorful alien worlds, but in this movie, our heroes only visit about 3 planets that are bland and lifeless. Just look at the planets from the PS4 game that is based on this movie. The locations in the game are full of life and detail, but the same places in the movie are just boring. But I have to say that the characters look really good, and the animation is smooth and expressive. This might not be the best looking movie, but with the budget they had, I think they did a decent job overall. Now let's talk about humor. I would be lying if I said this movie isn't funny, because there are a few jokes in it that made me laugh. I even laughed at Wilhelm's scream, which I usually hate in movies. But there are also a lot of dumb and cringy gags aimed at kids, which is really disappointing because the Ratchet and Clank games have always been great for all ages. What haven't I mentioned yet? Ah, the music. Oddly enough, the soundtrack is quite good and mostly memorable. My favorite tracks are probably The Deplanetizer and Parting Ways. So, is this movie as bad as people think it is? Well, yes and no. Despite all my criticisms, this movie is far from the worst I've ever seen, and you won't hurt your brain cells by watching it. But you won't take anything away from it either. I am really angry not for what this movie is, but for what it isn't. Ratchet and Clank are some of my favorite characters, and there are so many ways to make a fantastic movie about them, but the creators of this one failed at everything. If you're a fan of the series, you can check it out, because it's still nice to see Ratchet and Clank in the movie, and there are a lot of references to various games that made me scream with joy when I first saw them. But I would rather recommend you watch the short film called Life of Pi, which has flaws, but is better in almost every way than this movie. By the way, the movie ended with a hint of a sequel, but I think we will never see it. Unless you consider Life of Pi a sequel, which it actually might be. Okay, I think that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if so, please leave a like and subscribe. I will also be very happy if you leave a comment and maybe even recommend this channel to your friend, parent, dog, or anyone else. I am Gold Gear, thanks for watching, and stay gold!
That's our plan?
Yes, it is.